Tonight is coming to us all the way from the Israeli city Modi'in. Modi'in today is a beautiful modern city just about halfway between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. It was designed by none other than the Israeli-Canadian architect Moshe Safdie, and it is the home of one of our sister congregations in Israel. One of the most vibrant among the Reform congregations in Israel is Kihilat Yozma. And I try to go to Kihilat Yozma just about every time I can for Shabbat while I'm in Israel. And some good friends are there. So I called on them to help us celebrate Hanukkah this year because Modi'in, the ancient Modi'in, not Moshe Safdie's Modi'in, but the ancient Modi'in, was the home of none other than Matityahu and his sons, otherwise known as the Maccabees. So I wrote to my dear friend and colleague, Rabbi Nir Barkin, and to my dear friend and colleague, educator, Uri Feinberg, and I asked them if they might give us a short tour, an 8-minute tour of ancient Modi'in and today's Yozma. So here they are, Rabbi Barkin and Uri Feinberg.
Chanukah Sameach, Rabbi Splansky. Chanukah Sameach to all the members of Congregation Holy Blossom in Toronto. This is a great pleasure for us to be together with our sister congregation on this Festival of Lights. A special day for us here at Yozma is to welcome you, even virtually, to our celebration of Hanukkah here. You know that Hanukkah started here, in the hills of Modi'in, in the area where the Maccabees live. I'm holding in my hand 2 oil lamps from the Mishnah period. Those oil lamps were found in the excavations around Modi'in when we started building this city about 25 years ago. And they were donated to this kehillah, to our community, by one of our members. We are together with you. We are maintaining the liberal and progressive life of the Jews here in Israel. We're doing the utmost to still fight for religious freedom in the state of Israel. And we can't do it by ourselves. Only together we are doing it the best we can. Together, Yozma here and Holy Blossom in Toronto are maintaining vital, progressive Jewish life in the land of Israel. I'm passing you on to my friend and educator, Uri. Uri will show you the founding of the area of Modi'in, where everything started out and the miracle just began 2,000 years ago.
Thank you, Rabbi Nir. And once again, my name is Uri, and it is wonderful to see all of you. Rabbi Splansky, glad to see you, and to all my friends at Holy Blossom, nice to see you as well. And I wanted to welcome you to the city of Modi'in. Now, we're not standing in the modern city of Modi'in, but we actually are. This is the modern city of Modi'in that was founded back in 1994. It was groundbreaking. The first people didn't move in until 1996, and today is a city of 90,000 strong. The goal is going to be 250,000, but clearly, I'm not standing in a modern house. I'm standing in what was an ancient wine press, and it was part of the industry of the Drash village that was here 2,300 years ago. This is where they would bring the grapes, they would stomp, you know what, there's so much to tell, and I want to show you this ancient village, which is just down the street from where I live at the top of Shiftei Yisrael Street. But what I want to show you is the heart and soul of this Jewish town back 2,300 years ago. So how do we know there was a Jewish village here? Because in 2001, construction on a road was taking place that would give access from the area of Latrun towards Modi'in, and they discovered ancient ruins. Archaeologists were brought in, and what they discovered was incredible. You know what? Check it out. We are in an ancient mikveh, a spiritual cleansing bath. And when archaeologists discovered this carved out space with the steps leading down to an area that would have filled with about 750 cubic liters of water out of the limestone, they realized that they were looking at and standing in a mikveh from the days of the Hasmoneans, the family of Judah Maccabees. So the Maccabees, incredible. And as they began to recognize that, in fact, this is a Jewish village from the days of Judah and his brothers, and of course, Dad Mattathias, that meant that there had to be a core. There had to be a center of this village. It wasn't the mikveh. The mikveh was part of that. So what was it? Let's go find out. So what is the core, the center, the beating heart of any Jewish community? It was the synagogue. And that's where we are right now. Archaeologists were able to discern that, in fact, this structure that we're in right now, not only was it a synagogue, not only was the orientation towards Jerusalem that you can see, the Judean hills, and Jerusalem is just nestled right above over there towards the east. Not only were there 4 pillars on either side that held up an awning, but this was a synagogue that was dated to 2,300 years ago, smack dab right there in the middle of the Hasmonean period. I keep mentioning the Hasmoneans. We remember Mattathias, who stands up to the Greeks at a time in 167 before the Common Era, when Antiochus IV outlaws Judaism on pain of death. Now, while there are many layers to this story that we don't have to get into right now, if I want to move aside any of those layers, I can focus just on the fact that here was an individual, here was a family that said, Judaism doesn't die today, not on our watch. Now, when archaeologists come here and identify this as the synagogue, they recognize it wasn't just in the Hasmonean period, but actually continues from the Hasmonean period into the Roman period, and is going to continue even after the temple is destroyed in the year 70 to the Common Era, and will continue all the way up until the year 132 to the Common Era, at the beginning of the Bar Kokhba rebellion, and most likely cease to function at the end of that rebellion, which we lose. I'm not here to talk about losing rebellions, but in fact, I'm talking about the power of being in a place where I can identify Jews who were living here for whom it was important enough to stand up against those oppressors. And as we find ourselves in the midst of the holiday of Hanukkah so many years later, imagine the power of storytelling. Imagine the power of communal memory. Imagine the power of inspiration. There have been those since the days of the Maccabees, all the way through, at great times and, well, less great, where we as a people have found it important enough to pass the story forward, so that we could be in a place, in a modern city of Modi'in or the modern city of Toronto, and be able to celebrate, well, the events that took place here 2,300 years ago. Now, between you and me, the truth is, we don't even know if this is the actual city of ancient Modi'in where Mattathias was when he stood up against the Greeks. We don't know. There's no sign that says Judah Maccabee slept here. We do know there were Jews who were living here at the time when these events were unfolding. It's not for nothing that we light candles to remember, that we gather around best we can in these days of pandemic to share the story with loved ones near and far. And while there are many layers, as I mentioned, to the holiday, one in particular that I really love is actually right in this box. So with that, I will leave you. I've been thinking about this all day long. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Chag Sameach, Chanukah Sameach. Rabbi Nir, back to you.
Hey, welcome back. I'm glad you're back with me, and I hope you enjoyed your tour with Uri out at the fields of Modi'in. I'm sure that you learned a lot, and you were part, or you are part, of what's happening here in the land of Israel through the lens, I would say, of Modi'in and the Maccabee story. The fight for religious freedom in the state of Israel continues since 2,000 years ago. Before you went on the tour, I shared with you the oil lamp that was found here in the area of Modi'in 25 years ago when they started digging in the area. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the main one, 8 areas where you can light the oil lamp. In the modern times of Israel, we're going and lighting the candles in the modern Chanukiah. This lamp, this oil lamp, can serve us as a reminder of everything we need to fight for: egalitarian, success, hope, equality, freedom, and moral values. We can do it together. Join us here as soon as you can, virtually or by visiting us, and we'll make a difference. See you soon. Chanukah Sameach.
That is by far my favorite Hanukkah present so far. Thank you, Rabbi Barkin. Thank you, Uri Feinberg, for greeting us and bridging the gap from here to Modi'in. I hope this video made you thirsty to return to Israel. I know it did for me. And I look forward to the day when we can launch our next congregational trip and walk those ancient stones and celebrate Shabbat together with our sister congregation, Yozma. We turn to conclude